auto stocks are in the fast lane as a good Q3 earnings set is driving the heavyweights. The auto index was also gaining momentum. You can look at that, about 2.5%, nearly 3% up in the week. Will this rally last? What is the review of all of the results? Before we speak in detail with Ashwin Patil of LKP Securities, let me get in Puneet to set up the context.
Well, thank you for that. Definitely a lot of numbers to look at, but we've just narrowed it down to some five key takeaways across the industry, because that seems to be what's playing out. Q3 was a volume-led quarter across segments, and that was very visible in its numbers. Demand post the GST rate cut has been structural and not just in the near term. So it seems to be sustaining, and that's a key positive. That's the second key takeaway coming in from the Q3 results. The third one, largely on capacity expansion. Now, this was key. Also surprised the street from the companies like Eicher. M&M also announced capacity expansion this quarter, and so did Maruti talk about it. Or in 2026, they are looking to add 5 lakh capacity. So that's the third key takeaway. Continuing the point of structural demand in the near term and medium term as well. The fourth one is on commodity costs. Now, that pressure has continued in this particular quarter. While a lot of companies haven't yet taken meaningful price hikes, we could start to see that in Q4 and Q1 because of copper as well as the precious metal rise as well. So you could start seeing margins improve a little bit on a quarter-on-quarter basis. And the fifth and the final key takeaway is that FY27 could be a year of moderation, especially in the second half, based on volume growth, because this was highlighted by Mahindra in his conference call yesterday as well, because the base is now very strong. So between October 2025 and March 2026, what is expected to be a good year and the second half, in FY27, you could see a high base as well. I just want to quickly highlight, because we've given one key takeaway for each company as well, but just selected 3 out of this whole big list, specifically because TVS was one where at 41 times price to earnings, a lot of street is estimating a strong EPS growth. So that is one key takeaway. Hero, the management has mentioned that they are expecting a double-digit growth story playing out in Q4 and a high single-digit growth story playing out in Q1 of FY27 as well. Within the car makers, there has been strong expansion across, but Maruti, of course, the small car revival story seems to be a structural play as well. So in the car makers, I selected Maruti, and amongst the truck maker has to be on Ashok Leyland. Yesterday, results came in. The company has highlighted the small truck LCV segment seems to have grown, and now the bulk is coming back. But when you look at valuations at 24 to 28 times for most companies, removing outliers like Hero and TVS, you could see a lot of it being priced in. So that's the key takeaway for the auto sector in Q3. A lot more to talk about going forward as well.
Ashwin Patil joining in for more on that. He's a senior research analyst at LKP Securities. Joining us on the phone line. Ashwin, very good morning to you. How are you assessing what we've seen with the auto companies, the OEMs? Let's start from there, the PV makers, with that flush of GST now chugging them along.
Absolutely. The Q3 numbers were ultra fabulous for the entire auto pack, I would say. And you take a name, and that company has absolutely performed really, fantastically this quarter. All thanks to the government because of the GST 2.0 reforms that came in the month of September. After that, the entry car segment of Maruti or for the other players, that which was really, lackluster for about 1.5 years. That has seen a solid momentum, and that has led to solid numbers for at least for the PV makers, and also for the two-wheeler makers. That segment has actually showed a lot of zeal. So I would say that, and you should talk about the CV makers. Ashok Leyland has come out with a fabulous set of numbers yesterday, wherein they have given a very good, strong outlook also for the coming year. But on the other hand, we are a bit cautious because the second half of FY27 will be on a very high base, and that may, pull down the numbers up to some extent. But living in the present, I would say that, fantastic numbers. Yeah, RM cost pressures are definitely there because of the PGM group, the platinum group metals, and the aluminum and copper are not allowing the margins to grow or the margins to enjoy as much as the top line is. So, that is one of the sort of concern for us. But otherwise, entire auto pack has been fantastically, putting a great set of numbers. They had a great Q3, bucking the overall trend. Yeah.
Right. Ashwin, the question is simple. Where within this bucket do valuations capture in the upsides and therefore you would not be a fresh buyer? I heard you say this about Ashok Leyland. So are the CV plays such, any of the other PV plays, two-wheeler plays, where is it that you would not be a buyer, not because of the results, but because of the valuations?
Because of the valuations, I would say that maybe like Hyundai, something like Hyundai, I would not be really positive because both of the results as well as the valuations at this point in time, maybe like something like Bajaj Auto, I may not be really very gung-ho about because of both the results as well as valuations. But apart from that, you look at the valuations, they are like fantastic, and for most of the players, I mean, they are quite high, I would say rather. But TVS has been always been, valuing at a higher multiple as compared to Hero and Bajaj. But still TVS, because of its great set of numbers, we are still a buy on it. Coming to the passenger vehicles, yes, Maruti is looking good. Valuations are not that really very, very high because they have always been historically in that range. M&M is looking good because the valuations are not that really very high because we are adding the SOTP numbers as well. So the core multiples are not that really very, very high. But
what's your top call? What's your top call in let's say PV, CV, two-wheelers? Let's get one from each of the three segments.
Yeah, TVS in the two-wheeler space, TVS and Hero, I would say. And then within the PV makers, we are having Mahindra and Mahindra, and CVs we are having Ashok Leyland.
Okay, so that's clear and direct. Thank you so much, Ashwin Patil, for joining us on your review of the auto sector. But let's get to that segment which you've all been waiting for.